Have you heard about liminal spaces? Do you know what that means? Heard anything about it? If you have you heard about it recently? Do you hear about it often? Maybe you've never heard about it at all. But guess what? Because I brought it up right now, you're going to hear about it again. You're going to hear those words, liminal spaces, sometime, maybe even in the next few hours, maybe even in the next few moments.
That's so weird. I just heard that on a video earlier. And then now, I'm hearing it 2 more times this week. What is that? Is that synchronicity? Is that a message from the universe?
Well, this video is not about liminal spaces, but it is about the phenomenon of why, now that I have made you think about liminal spaces or introduced you to that term, you are going to hear it again, either more frequently or very soon. And the reason is because of how your subconscious mind forms your reality. And I'm not talking about magic. No, I'm talking about the actual neuroscience that has been well studied and documented and developed over the last few decades. And I don't think that it is still super common knowledge for the level at which it is at play and how often we are reminded of it. And so the point of today's video is to really bring to your consciousness exactly what I'm talking about, so that you can see with an awareness just how often this has actually been happening your entire life without you maybe recognizing it. So that you can become aware that this isn't just people talking about positive affirmations and you scripting your own reality and it's like believe it into being and fake it till you make it. But the thing is, there's something to it. And there's not just like a little something to it. Like
if you be a little bit more positive, then you're more likely to experience positivity.
It's so much deeper than that. And I'm going to explain to you today the actual biology through neuroscience of why this is so accurate and actually way more influential than maybe you've even realized. I tend to think, I need to tell you this, I actually think this is the absolute secret to life. This is the code that you need to crack to get the life that you've always wanted. Answer all the questions of,
why has my life been going this way? And when I want it to go this other way? And why can't I seem to ever reach those goals that I'm trying to achieve? And what is standing in my way?
And this is the key to all of that. This is the key to crafting the life that you want to live. It all starts by understanding how your subconscious mind works and how it forms your reality. Okay? So let's get started. In case you got excited when I mentioned liminal spaces, and then I'm like not talking about that, I'm sorry. But if you want to know what that is, since the video is not really about that, I will at least just tell you it's just a transitional space, like a hallway, walkway, or something that passes between 2 different places. It's not a place of origin, and it's not a place of destination. It's the space in between. So it's kind of something that's been a TikTok topic lately, or a social media topic, where people are talking about liminal spaces, and they're discussing how they are creepy or eerie. And if you see like an eerie picture of a hallway or something, it's almost like you feel like it looks familiar to you in a really eerie way. And it's probably just because it is a space that we've often seen in our childhood. You've seen it somewhere. A lot of hallways look similar. It might have been in a movie, but it just reminds us of a time in our life that was unsure. We weren't in a space that felt grounded and felt safe. It felt kind of up in the air, like we weren't done getting to wherever we need to get to. So that's why spaces like that make us feel that way. So it's just a topic that is going around, and it's something I noticed most recently that falls under the category of number 1. The first way that we've seen oftentimes in our life our subconscious at play forming our reality. And that is with the Baader-Meinhof. How do you say this? Baader-Meinhof phenomenon.
No!
I don't know if that's right. Oh my God, I need you to say it, bro. And that is the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Baader. I don't know. The butter. Minecraft.
No!
No, it's not butter. It's the Baader. We're gonna let Google tell you. Every time, bro.
Baader-Meinhof phenomenon.
That one. Anyways, it's also known as the frequency illusion, which is probably a lot easier to say, so you can just remember that. What this is referring to, this is actually really fascinating. So, the frequency illusion, this is just referring to how whenever you hear something somewhere at any given point, you hear a new term that you haven't heard before, someone tells you some new word that's kind of interesting, that piques your interest, and you talk about it with someone. And then later that day, or within the next like 24 hours typically, you suddenly see that word or that term somewhere random. You're reading something. You're on Reddit, I don't know, and somebody is talking about that term in their Reddit story. That's crazy. Maybe you are watching a YouTube video and somebody mentions that word in their video that's like not even actually about that term. It was some off-topic thing that they mentioned in their video. And you're just like,
That's weird.
they mentioned that term, or they mentioned that group name, or they mentioned that person. And you're just like,
I know who that is now because someone just said that person earlier today. And I never knew who that was before. And whoa, that's the second time I've seen it today. That's crazy. What does this mean?
I know you've had this happen to you. I know, because it happens all the time, right? The way that it works is by your reticular activating system, okay? Everyone has something called the RAS that is a network of neurons inside of the brainstem that plays a crucial role in regulating wakefulness and consciousness, things like that. It also regulates sleep and wakefulness transitions, attentiveness, things like that. So basically what you're keyed into, what you are conscious of, what you are aware of around you. So it acts as a filter for your brain because at any given time, all around us, there are billions, maybe trillions, I don't even know how many, an infinite number of sensory elements coming at us in all different forms, verbally, through body language, through random sounds. It's everywhere. It's happening constantly. And your conscious mind does not have the ability to take all of that in and like process all of it. You can only think about certain few different things at once. So everything else that's coming at you at any given time, you're not really aware of. And this reticular activating system is the part of your brain that picks which things are important. It picks which things for you to focus on at any given time. All day long it's happening. And so that's the difference between what your conscious mind represents, what thoughts it represents, and what your subconscious mind represents. It's been studied a lot what information the RAS will choose. And one thing that it often chooses is anything that you have become aware of recently. So if you had a conversation about something, you learned a new word, that is going to be something that your RAS is going to be filtering for now for the next 24 or so hours. So that's why you're going to see that word again, most likely. It's a very high possibility that you will see that word again. So what does that tell us about our mind? What does that tell us about our perception? What does that tell us about reality and the way that we experience it? Well, to me, it tells us that there's a lot of things going on all around us, and what we perceive, what we believe it to be, how we see our reality is just all about, really, a big portion of it is all about what we are focusing on, what we are putting into there for our RAS to focus on. So anything that you make a large portion of your focus, that's what you're going to see in your reality. So imagine what all this can expand to. The thoughts that you ruminate on, the self-talk that you say to yourself all the time. If it's negative, you're going to be filtering for things like that. And you're going to see them. You're going to notice the things that reinforce that. All throughout your life, I'm sure you've had this experience like dozens of times. And that is why it happens, okay? And then there's kind of a joke about, well, once you hear about the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, you're going to start seeing the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon happening all the time. So now get ready for a bunch of coincidences like that happening to you constantly in the next few days, or for as long as you are thinking about this, because that's what's going to happen. I think it's fun. It's good times. You're welcome. Now, would it be of any surprise to you, really, to find out that this doesn't just have to do with what you see or what words you're reading? It also is auditory. And not just in the aspect of you thought about a word or you thought about a concept and then you hear that word, but even further than that. I want you to look at this word on the screen. All right. It says green needle, right? Think about that word and look at that word while you listen to this sound. It said the word, correct? That sound said green needle, correct? Okay. Now, look at this word. It says brainstorm. Now I want you to listen to this sound while you're looking at this word and thinking about this word, okay? It said the word, right? Brainstorm. Okay. Now, would you be surprised if I told you I played you the exact same sound?
Huh?
Don't believe me? Well, let's watch this video. So, the truth about this clip, this sound clip, is that the exact same sound is just repeating in a loop. It is not changing. It is the same sound the entire time. The only thing that is changing is what your brain is focusing on. There's a few things going on here. it takes an ambiguous sound. So it's a sound that's not quite clear. So whenever you have information that is indistinct, guess what your brain does? Your brain tends to fill in the information for you. And it does so based on whatever you are thinking about or focusing on. Okay? So that's why when you hear an indistinct sound and you think about the word brainstorm, your brain is going to send a signal to your ear to hear and fill in the sounds that aren't actually there. It's going to make you hear brainstorm. But when you think about the word green needle, it's going to do the exact same thing, but with green needle. I don't know about you, but I think that's fascinating. Whoa! But imagine how many things we hear incorrectly because of it. That is perfect data that demonstrates right there in such an easy, straightforward experiment exactly how our brain does that, and how so many times in life, without even noticing, we could be hearing something totally wrong that we just filled in the blanks. So imagine you're having a conversation and think about how many times you get to the end of a conversation with somebody. Maybe it was highly elevated with emotion, or something was really impactful, something was heavy was going on. So it was hard for you to concentrate. Maybe you didn't hear every word. Maybe you were off in your head a little bit. After that conversation, you are going to reflect on that conversation. Your brain's going to be filling in all the things that you didn't actually hear. And it's going to be doing so based on your biases, your thoughts, your beliefs, things like that. But that other person is going to be doing the same thing. So they're going to remember what they actually heard. And then the parts that they didn't hear, they're going to fill in the blanks based on their beliefs, their thoughts, their cognitive biases. And then so depending on what different level of that is happening on each side, two people could have a totally different recollection and outcome from that conversation. And that's why people need to really work together. Especially if you're in a partnership, you need to really work together through the conversation. At the end, reconfirm with each other, reconvene.
Okay, so this is what I feel like you said. Is that accurate? Am I getting this right?
This is why check-ins like that are so important. And sometimes people make fun of it and are like,
I already heard you. You don't need to talk to me like a child and make sure I understood.
Well, I'm not talking to you like a child. It's me just confirming that our brains aren't filling in information where it's not there, that we're on the same page, because we are two different brains. And so you might think about how people sometimes have stories of something that's happened to them, maybe something traumatic, or just a story that they tell. And as time goes on, that you're getting further and further away from when that event actually took place, you might notice that either if you're the person telling the story, it's a little more difficult to remember all the details, or you might notice if you're the person listening to the story, you might notice this person's coming out with parts of the story that you didn't hear them say the first time. If you think about trials where there's a witness and someone has told a story in an interview, and then they've told a story at trial, and they've told different interviews all over the place. And then each time maybe they told the story, there's a little bit of a change. And the reason likely that is happening is because their brain is filling in the gaps where they no longer have an actual memory. And so what will happen is they'll start to tell the story, and all the holes that they have in the story now, because their memory is not holding on to that information, it's not in their reticular activating system anymore, it's not at the forefront of their mind because it's far away. It happened a while ago. So now all that they have in that story that aren't there in their memory, they're like,
okay, I need to make the story make sense logistically.
They're not plotting and planning to make it a fake story, but it's like, I don't have all the pieces of this story anymore. So I need to fill it in so that when I'm telling it, it makes sense. Because our memory doesn't work the way that a storybook would work. It's not going to tell the story in all the perfect detail and from beginning to end chronologically and make it all nice and tied up with a bow. It's just holding on to pieces for very different reasons. And so when you try to tell that story again, it's going to just be a jumbled bunch of pieces and parts, and it doesn't really make any sense. Kind of also like a dream. When you first wake up from a dream, it makes so much sense to you. You go try to tell it later and you're like, there's so many holes in this story. I don't even know how this even adds up. How did I get from there to there? That doesn't make any sense. Why did that person turn into this person? And it just doesn't make any sense because you don't have all the pieces anymore. You don't have all the consciousness. You don't have it. So your brain will fill it in. So sometimes it fills it in with things that aren't there. And what it'll fill it in with is your prioritized thoughts, beliefs, things that you're seeing, thinking about. It's definitely whatever you're focusing on. So we can't help that this is the way our brain works. It's going to keep working that way. But what you can do is be aware of it. Being aware of it means that if you pay attention to it, you can tell when you're doing this. You can tell when you're fishing for the details in your mind that you don't quite remember, and you're filling in that part of the story. And so what I try to do to hold myself accountable and be very truthful about my storytelling and reflecting on my past accurately is I'm just cognizant of when I don't have that information. And I might just say,
I'm not sure about this part. I think something happened that made me think that something like this happened.
And then I'll go to the next part that I do remember. And I will admit how I got there. I'm not too certain about that part anymore. Or if I say,
and then they said this.
It's unlikely that long into the future I remember the exact quote of what this person said. So I will say,
they said something to the effect of this that caused me to feel this way. I'm not sure of their exact words, but it was something to this effect.
So then I'm remaining accurate. I'm remaining truthful. I'm keeping myself accountable. Now, we can't be sure that all people are going to do this. So you just kind of have to take people's stories, how you're going to take them, and always remember that this is the likely case. If somebody's telling a story from many years ago and they have every detail, the smell that they smelled and exactly what or everything was in the room and exactly what somebody said and every single detail of every single thing, it's unlikely, unless the moment that happened, they wrote everything down and had it documented that moment, it's unlikely that is fully accurate. And this is also why, if you think about it, when police get on the scene of something and they're taking a statement, and it seems so invasive because people are going through some huge tragedy or they're in the middle of chaos at this moment, and the police are like,
Okay, let me know what happened. Let's go.
they're like pushing for that. And it's because that's going to be the most accurate rendition of what has happened. The closer you can get to when it just happened is going to be the accurate depiction of what happened. There's a caveat to that though, because people that are in shock or they're under the influence, something like that, they're not going to also, for different reasons, give you correct information. So there can be nuance there. But for the most part, your best rendition of a story that happened or what took place is going to be right after, because you still have the memories that are accurate. Your brain's not doing all the filling in, but sometimes it is. Sometimes this is taking place right in the moment because you are thinking about something, you're focusing on something, and your brain is hearing what you want it to hear. That's why they say there's two sides to every story, is because there's what this person was experiencing, what they were thinking about, what their beliefs are, and what they filled in with their own information that they were already predispositioned to think in that situation. And then the same thing happening for the other person. They could be having the same conversation, the same experience, all the same factors, but it's their individual beliefs and perspectives that shaped that event from their telling of it. So that's why there's their side of the story, the other side of the story, and then there's the truth. But there's always this question. This blows my mind. I know I'm going off on some tangents here, but this is where my brain goes every time I talk about this topic. It's like, okay, well, is there an objective reality of what happened? Does that even exist? Or are we all just living in a world where reality isn't quite what we think it is at all? And there's nothing objective about it. It's just what we make it. And that is why we say that our subconscious shapes our reality. Because what else do you have? How can you ever know what objective reality is? You can only know by what someone else tells you, and that's their reality. So what is the truth? The mystery continues. All right, number 3, evidence throughout life that your subconscious is shaping your reality is the phenomenon of false eyewitnessing, or perceptual blindness is another term for it. Now this one's really interesting. So imagine the scenario where you are looking for something. Let's say you're looking for the ketchup in the refrigerator, okay? You just made some french fries, you're like, I need ketchup. So you go to the refrigerator and you look for the ketchup and it's not there. And you're like,
Where's the ketchup?
and then so you yell to your roommate who's in the other room and you're like,
Hey, do we have ketchup? Have you seen the ketchup?
and they're like,
Yeah, it's in the refrigerator.
and then you're just looking and you're like,
I don't see it. Where? Do you know about where in the refrigerator it is?
and they're just like,
I don't know. I saw it yesterday. I know it's in there.
and then you're looking at every single individual item. You're like,
It is not in here. I'm looking at every single bottle. It's not in here. Where is it?
and then finally, your roommate's tired of you complaining and huffing and puffing in the other room. So they come in and they walk up to the refrigerator, and to your astonishment, they reach their hand right into the refrigerator and they pull out the freaking ketchup. And it's right there. And your mind is blown. And you're like,
What the? I didn't see that. I just looked. I looked there a million times. I was looking right. Where? Is this a joke? Am I on a prank show?
it doesn't make any sense. It does though. So your eyes are not working in the way that you think they are. Your eyes aren't seeing as much as you really think. It's the same as with the auditory filling in. Your brain is sometimes making guesses for you as to what you expect before you are going in there. So sometimes maybe the ketchup is usually on the door. And so if it's not on the door, your brain already has this picture in its mind of The ketchup is always on the door. And so when it's not on the door, you're like,
I can't find it.
and then your eyes are not prepped to be seeing it somewhere else. It's not used to seeing it there. So it's going to skip right over it and not see it there. Because sometimes what you're seeing with your eyes is a past picture. I know this is crazy. A past picture of what you're used to seeing, not what you're actually seeing. And until you can really clear your mind and not be in such a state of
Ketchup.
that you'll actually see what is in front of you for real, instead of this expectation that you have of what you're going to see. I know you've had this happen to you a million times. I've had it happen to me so many times in such crazy ways where I'm like,
That was not there. There's no way that was there. I looked right there. It was not there.
it can also do this the opposite direction where it puts things in front of your eyes that aren't actually there. So my most memorable time that this happened to me is it was crazy. I thought I was delusional. I thought that I was maybe sleep deprived or something. But I swear to you, there was this bottle of hot sauce that I had in the house that I had purchased that I swear on my life I remembered it being Frank's Red Hot Sriracha. And I was like, that's a really cool pair. So I had it and I knew I had it. And then so one of my roommates had been asking if I had any hot sauce or hot wing sauce or something. And I was like,
Yeah, there's one in the kitchen and it says Sriracha on it. It's like Sriracha, hot wing, right? Frank's Red Hot. It's a really cool combination.
and they're just like,
I don't see that. I don't see anything like that.
and I'm like,
No, it's in there.
and then they're just like,
I see this Frank's Red Hot.
and I'm like,
It says look on the front. It says Sriracha.
and they're just like,
It doesn't.
I'm just like, what is wrong with you? And then so they bring me the bottle and they show it to me. And I was dumbfounded. I'm looking at that bottle. Nowhere on that bottle did it say Sriracha. Not a place. Nowhere. And so I'm like,
No. This is a different bottle. Someone has switched it.
and so I go online. I Google it because I'm like,
Does that even exist?
I'm looking everywhere. No, bro. Frank's Red Hot Sriracha doesn't exist. That's not a thing. That isn't even, no one's ever even made that. Where I got this idea that I bought that is crazy. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why my mind filled that in, but I remember I visually have a memory of it saying Sriracha on that bottle. That blew my mind. And it's like, I can't prove that to anybody, but I know what I saw it with my own two eyes. And it always boggled my mind because I was like,
I know what I saw. I didn't imagine it.
but I did. I did. I had to have imagined it because it doesn't exist. My brain just put that there. And I'm not sure why it filled that in. Maybe an association of like how a bottle looked. Maybe something that was on the bottle reminded me of a Sriracha bottle. And I saw that word. I don't know. But it filled that right in. So sometimes just know that your memories of things could be, they're pieces and parts, partially of what you're seeing, and then partially of what your brain is expecting to see or wanting to see or filling in for you. That is such an obvious, blatant indication that our brain, our thoughts, our beliefs, our expectations are creating the reality around us because that word was not on that bottle, but I saw that word on that bottle in plain print, imprinted into my memory. I knew that it was there. Like I was so confident that they were going to bring me that bottle and I was going to be like,
Right there.
and it was like a smack to I lost the wind in my chest, like just staring at it. Like,
Where's the word? Who erased the word?
it's crazy. So just always be aware of that. You are crafting your reality in some ways, in most ways, in big ways. You never know when this is happening fully. So to what extent is everything that happens around us really just crafted from our brain, from our mind, and then the way we're perceiving it? A lot of stuff can be. Imagine to what extent this can be going to at times. It's fascinating to me. And once you know this, imagine the ways that you can take the reins and have more control than you ever realized that you actually have. You start to become aware that life isn't just happening to you. You can tap into these things. It's how life works. Right, number 4. Number 4 is thought reality synchronization. This is really similar, kind of building off of the one where you learn a new concept and then all of a sudden you see it other places the next few days. This is a little bit just slightly different, just adding to that kind of. So I know we all have the joke about our phones are listening to us or our devices are listening to us because all of a sudden you're talking about a subject and then you see that popping up in ads and you're like,
Okay, Google. Okay, I know what you're doing. You little sneak. Like, are you listening to me? Like, how is it? My device is always listening? That's a little creepy.
but have you ever just thought about something and then it starts popping up? That's more than creepy. That's very creepy. because you never even said out loud that you were thinking about this. You never told anybody, you weren't talking about it, but your phone is now popping up the thing that you were thinking about. Have they advanced to reading our thoughts? I've literally had this conversation. They're reading our thoughts now. This is scary. And yes, there has been talk about maybe they are reading our thoughts, but I tend to think it's probably more the explanation of thought reality synchronization, where you're experiencing selective attention. Your thoughts are your antenna, basically, what your reticular activating system. You're tuned in to see those things, and it just happens to be what you focus on. And I'm not trying to get weird here and like go off the ventured path of science, but we all know we have energy. There's energy that exists beyond what we quite understand. It's not really of this world and of this understanding that we have as humans. It's something more. It's like beyond this realm. And there's an energy that goes out and from your spirit, from your soul. And then somehow technology seems to interact with that in a way that we don't maybe fully understand from our conscious level of understanding. I have literally had something happen to me where it's not even necessarily a new word, but it'll be something that I haven't thought of in a long time. It'll be something that doesn't come up like every single day. You'll just think of it randomly. Okay, for example, the other day, I was writing something. I write a lot. I just journal, or I write whatever's on my mind, whatever's touching my heart at the moment. I write about it. That's how I get my thoughts and emotions out sometimes. I just write. So I was writing something, and I had my TV on in the background. A YouTuber was on, and I want to say it was Charlotte Dobre, and she's a YouTuber who does reaction videos, okay? And she was just talking away. I know it was in the background. I wasn't fully listening, and I was writing, and I started writing something about when with friends like that, who needs enemies. That's a commonly known saying, but it's not like I had said that anytime recently, or it was something that I was like researching or that I had thought of at all. I just thought of it in that moment because of what I was talking about. No sooner did I get those words typed out on my computer and I key into the video, she literally says that phrase at the same time. What? I was like, hold on, sorceress. What? And that's happened to me a multitude of times. But I'll tell you a very specific thing. So one time I was writing something. I think I was writing a song, and I was trying to use Usher, the artist Usher. I was trying to incorporate him into the song, into my bar or whatever. I was talking about something about likes it my way, like Usher or something like that. Or I got it bad like Usher, something like that, okay? Tell me why the song that was playing in the background that I had never heard before was not an Usher song, had nothing to do with Usher. The guy does an Usher reference right after, at the same time, right after I said that, right after I thought of that. He literally said a bar in his song using Usher. At that point, I'm looking under my bed, okay? I am gazing out my window, like, who the heck is watching me? What is going on? Is this like an AI thing? They are watching us? This is what I'm thinking. If I hadn't been at that very moment thinking about Usher and been putting that into my song, I probably wouldn't, maybe, have noticed that the guy sang that part in the song. I probably wouldn't have been clued into that, because my mind wouldn't have been focusing on Usher at the moment and would not have heard that maybe. So is it a coincidence still that happened to pop up at that time? Maybe. But maybe things like that are happening all the time. And the only time we're noticing them are the moments that they align with what we are thinking about at the moment or what we have recently thought about. And so at random given times, it collides to where what someone else is saying is exactly what you're thinking about, and that is the time that you notice it. But you wouldn't have noticed it if that wasn't what you were thinking about, because everything else that woman said in that video, she said tons of other words. She said a multitude of other words and phrases and terms and things. I don't think I heard any of the rest of the video because I wasn't paying attention, but I heard that. And then in that song, I don't know what that song was about. I don't even remember who the artist was, but I remember that, and that stood out. I heard Usher, and that's because I was thinking of Usher at the moment. So then I think that we falsely attribute it maybe to some out of this world thing where it's like,
it's the universe trying to tell me something about Usher. What does Usher mean? And I need to decode the lyrics of all the Usher songs and line them up in the letter of the first word of every Usher song. I need to write it out, and it's going to spell out a message, and it's going to tell me about who I'm going to marry. And that's...
No! It's not that. It's more to do with the frequency illusion. And so why are those ads popping up? Is it because they're reading our thoughts and there's this big plot, read our minds? Probably not. This part is purely theory. It's not proven at this point, but I think a possible explanation is that technology, just the way AI is rapidly advancing and different technologies, that it's advancing beyond where we can always keep up with it. And in a way that we can't quite put to words yet, there may be something to it kind of reading our thoughts. And I think it's based on like patterns that are built up, where it's anticipating something that you'll probably be thinking about, somehow related in some way to other things that you have been looking into. And so it could be a coincidence in that way, where it's gotten very good at guessing the thoughts that might go through your brain, even if to you they seem like random thoughts. Algorithms are wild. They are doing a lot more than just the straightforward, like what you looked up, now you're going to get a bunch of videos about that. It's so much deeper than that. It's something that I can't quite put into words all of the explanation for it, but it's happening. So we're shaping our reality in that way, and then technology is helping to do that. It's joining in with us and building like an algorithm of our life and what we see and what we experience. So you can get down rabbit holes sometimes. This is why when you start thinking about something so heavily, you start obsessing over it and you go into these rabbit holes about it. You got to watch what you start ruminating too far into or focusing too far onto. And you got to start going,
okay, wait, let me recenter and realize that I'm in an algorithm, that I'm in a pocket here, and that there's a bunch of other information that I'm probably ignoring. Let me take off this bias if I want to do some real research and I want to get to some real truth, and let me explore all the other sides, to be fair.
You got to really check yourself sometimes with that. All right, my bad. I had to do a wardrobe change because it's hot. When I say it's hot, I mean it is burning hot into my soul. It is burning hot out here, and I'm sweaty, and I'm sorry that you have to find that out, okay? But I am. So moving forward, whatever your beliefs might be, whether you think it's magical nonsense or whatnot, you can feel energy. And there's also been studies about it. There's been studies about an actual real detected energy field that can be detected outside of each person, that they are emanating into the atmosphere. And that's something, we don't know what it does or all of the impacts of it at this time, scientifically or proven, but it's there and you can feel it. You feel something from someone before you ever even have to talk to them. You feel things from them. You feel vibes, you feel presence, you feel things. So that's real. And so there could be something to your antenna or your energy field being aligned with what is like it and what it is attracting, what it is thinking about, what language it's speaking. We don't know its language entirely, but other things out there do. And so one explanation for this thing where you just think about something and it suddenly has an ad about it the next day or the next few days, that could be an explanation for that. Could be. I don't know the explanation for sure. It's just something that I wanted to bring up. But the concept is called thought reality synchronization, where your thoughts, even when they're not spoken out directly, even when you just had them in a fleeting moment and then you see an ad about that thing, could be a synchronization. There could be something to that. All right. Number 5, mood rewiring through language. This one is something that I specifically put in here, and I don't know like a technical term for it, but I did research into it a bit just to do this piece, because I swear this is something that caught me onto this early on before I knew anything about the subconscious mind or how it works. This was something that I used to do sometimes, and I would be like,
I can't believe that works.
like, that's just so silly, so easy. And throughout my life, I've struggled with panic attacks or depression or anxiety, things like that, where I've just been stuck in a rut. And as we know, life doesn't care about your ruts that you're stuck in sometimes, and it has to keep going. And of course, I am a mother, and so there's plenty of times where I was stuck in my rut, but I couldn't be stuck there. So I would have to do some things that I didn't want to do. Like I would have to do things that I really wanted to cancel, that I really didn't feel up to, but I had to do them. And once I realized I had to do them, I was like, I don't want to do them so down in the dumps. I don't want it to be so terrible while I'm doing it. And I would sit there and I would think to myself,
what is wrong with me? Like, what is actually wrong right now? Like, what is actually the problem? Why am I upset? Why do I feel this way? Why do I not want to do this?
And I would think, and then I would realize there was nothing. There was nothing in particular. And then I would just be like,
all right, so then what do I need to feel this way for?
And so I would go in the mirror. This is going to sound like positive affirmations, and it kind of is. I would smile really big into the mirror and I would say,
you are so happy today and you're going to have the best freaking day. Get pumped up.
It's basically a pep talk, okay? I'm sure we've all given them to ourselves at times. We don't have like a personal cheerleader. Like some of you, maybe you have a personal assistant always with you that can just root you on, but that's not my life, okay? I have to do that myself, and we have to do it for ourselves a lot. So I'm a really big perpetrator of negative self-talk most of my life. I would say really horrible things inside my head. And so I'm telling you, this is years before anybody was talking about positive affirmations. This is years before anybody was talking about your thoughts become your reality, or your words are who you are. You know, like none of that stuff was being said. None of that was being said. I've never heard that in my life at this time. So this was kind of like a little trick I learned that I just accidentally did to myself one day. Because I thought,
well, let me just like tell myself that my day is going to be great, and then all of a sudden it'll be great.
and I was kind of like making fun about it, making fun of the thought of that. And then I just did that with tears in my eyes, actually. I had just got done crying about it. And I looked in the mirror and I put a smile instead. I wiped off my tears, put a smile on my face, and I did the motions and said the words as if I was excited to go do the thing that I was about to go do, that I did not want to do at all, and as if I was having a wonderful day. And I said those things. And I swear to you, this is how I know this is real. Something happened. Something happens the moment that you literally just like kind of fake yourself for a second. Something happens. All of a sudden, that massive weight that was on my chest and on my shoulders, it lifted. And I thought for a second,
Is this all in my head?
and it kind of is. It literally is all in your head. It's all in your head. Now, I'm not trying to downplay that there were things definitely wrong with my life, and that there were different things that have happened that, led to this over time, that there weren't contributing factors outside of me that caused trauma in my life that definitely led to this. I'm not saying that people that suffer from depression or anxiety are just making it up in their head. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying in that very moment, there was nothing actually happening to me. It was all triggers and all past things and all just a buildup. And so when I did that in the mirror, I not only did a positive affirmation to fool myself with auditory information, I also gave myself visual cues of happiness and positivity by smiling at myself. I didn't know I was doing this, but I was totally doing this. I was giving, and like we said in the earlier one, visual cues. The brain really grasps onto that. So you can psych your brain out and think it's going to see that positive face on your face and be like,
We're having a good day.
and it's going to start releasing those whatever chemicals, those signals that fire off and tell you,
I'm happy. I'm in a good mood. Today's a good day.
and you're going to really feel that way. Actually feel that way. It's amazing what just a quick pep talk in the mirror can do for you. It's not a joke. Try it sometimes when you're down. Literally just look in the mirror and just switch to a smile and be like,
This is the best day. This is going to be so fun. I'm so excited to go to this place.
and watch it kind of almost psych you out for a minute. It's not a miracle worker, but it does something to you. I mean it. Okay? And it's because you're triggering a slight shift in your limbic system. Your limbic system is where your emotions process through. That's where your emotions are from. Okay? And so you're doing a little push to it. You're telling it something else. You're saying, let me put some different information in there. Because all the information that's in there, it's all coming from you. It's literally coming from you going,
I don't want to go there. I don't want to do this. I hate this. This is the worst day.
hey, that's where it's coming from. And you didn't have to try to feel that way. That's how you just felt. But so then you can try to feel this way. And when you say the words and you fake the facial expressions and you get yourself pump, 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 it works. It triggers it in the right way. The same way when you just think about something and it kind of like makes you want to cry, that's the same way that when you just say some words or you think a certain way, you say words, they make you think something, and then that's going to trigger an emotion. It triggers your limbic system. It's really not rocket science. It's really not. You really have so much control. So moving on to number 6. Number 6 is called mirror self-concept reprogramming. Okay, this one's fascinating. This one can get a little crazy because there's some people, there's always going to be somebody that's going to take it too far. Take it a little too literally, be a little cuckoo in the cabeza about it. Okay? And that's fine. Whatever they want to believe. But here's what it means. This is the concept where if you criticize the way you look constantly, when you look in the mirror is going to reflect the criticisms that you have made about yourself to you. If you constantly talk nicely about yourself, think nicely about yourself, about your appearance, your outer appearance, the way that you look, the way that you present to the world outwardly, then when you look in the mirror, that's what you're going to see. Okay? To the extent that it's even going to have an impact on your behaviors, your routines, the way that you take care of yourself, and that in turn is going to reflect how you look. So some people take this to the extreme, and there's been people that claim that they can alter their outer appearance, their physical appearance, simply by thoughts and beliefs. That's going a little too far for me. I'm going to tell you right now. And there is no evidence to back that up, okay? I'm just saying, for sure. But I do have to say, when I continuously tell myself,
I look so bloated, I look so big, I don't look good in any of my clothes, nothing fits me.
blah, best believe when I look in the mirror, I look like that. I look bulbous, I look larger. But when I get on a good swing, where I'm feeling up and positive and uplifting, and I start telling myself,
You can wear that. You can show your midriff. You look bad. You look good. You are so fine.
sometimes I just tell myself that. Even if I don't believe it at the moment, sometimes I just tell myself that because, hello. I had myself convinced for years, probably a decade or more, that I could never show my torso area ever again because I had a baby and I had some stretch marks and I had loose skin. And I would look in the mirror at my abdomen and I would say,
That is so gross. There's no way that could ever look good again without surgery. There's no hope for me. There's no cream. There's no amount of working out that's ever going to fix that because it's scars. And it's extra skin from being pregnant. It's not fixable. I'm damaged. It looks disgusting. No one ever will want to look at that. That's ugly.
and guess what? Lo and behold, when I looked in the mirror at my midsection, that's exactly what I saw. It was ugly. It was lumpy. It was scarred up. It looked nasty to me because that's what I told it looked like. And it followed suit because, like I said, once again, a lot of what you see is not your eyes actually seeing that. It's your brain processing what you are seeing. So what is reality? What is really there? Well, it's what you decide it is sometimes. And so is it changing physically in the tangible world? I don't know, but all I can tell you is once I got my confidence back and I said,
You know what? Actually, this is a part of my body and I love it.
and I started taking care of it better, and I started holding it in more, and I started letting it out in the sun a little bit more, and I started going,
You know what? It's part of me. I had a child and this is what I look like. And this is a woman's body. This is what it looks like just as much as anybody else. This is what mine looks like and this is what it is.
and when I would wear a bathing suit, that's what it was, and I didn't care anymore. And guess what? When I would look in the mirror, it didn't look the same. It didn't look bad anymore. It didn't look like, physically, it did not look the same. And so I don't know what other people are seeing when they look at it, but that's crazy. That's incredible. Imagine how much your face can look different when you tell yourself constantly,
I'm ugly. I have a big nose. I have a big forehead.
no, bro, people used to call me five head in school. That's not a joke. That is an accurate statement. That people called me five head. Okay? And I thought that meant that I was doomed to be hideous forever because I tried bangs, did not fit my face. Just no. I tried not putting my hair back, I tried like what was I going to do? I couldn't change my forehead, my five head. So I just thought I was ugly. I just thought for a lot of my life that I was ugly, 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 and there was nothing I could do about it. And I was not confident in myself. But what I wasn't realizing was that everybody has their own look and their own way of being beautiful. And may I direct your attention to some famous five heads? I mean, like, hello, for instance, Rihanna. Is Rihanna ugly? No, Rihanna is freaking gorgeous. Like, hello? Tyra Banks, only like one of the most well-known supermodels to ever exist. Hello. And you know what? Once I stopped focusing on how big my forehead was, yeah, it gets a little shiny and it might be a little bigger than other people's, but you know what? It's mine. And I like it. And I'm proud of the way it looks. And once I started thinking that way, I didn't look so ugly anymore. When I looked at myself, I actually physically looked more attractive to myself. When I started embracing the way I looked and saying,
I'm beautiful. I'm confident in the way I look. I like the way I look. I don't want to look like anybody else. I want to look like me.
I saw something different in the mirror. It always began with a belief, and then it was reflected to me in my appearance in the mirror. And so, can you alter your physical appearance by just your thoughts and beliefs? I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that if you wanted to, like, have a nose job level change with your face, that you could just think that into existence. It's not like that. But there is something to believing that you look beautiful, and then that reflecting to you in physical ways in the mirror back to you. Just, I mean, if you don't believe me, try it for a little while. Even if you don't believe it, try it. Like, try just like telling yourself that a lot and then feeling that way, like getting into the feeling, like imagining that's real, and then look at yourself. The reason confidence makes someone more attractive is because it's literally doing this process. It's doing the mirror self-concept reprogramming. You're reprogramming that self-concept, and then you're seeing that in the mirror. That's what confidence does. That's why it makes people attractive. It's crazy, and it's real. This isn't magic. This is your brain's neuroplasticity in action. You're forming new neural connections when you're putting this new way of thinking in place. You're forming new connections. You're removing those old ones. Because repetition, that's how you program your subconscious mind, repetition and emotion. So if you feel that way and you really get into the emotion of it and then you repeat it, you reprogram it, you form new neural pathways, and then it's going to reflect what you see, what you think about yourself, what you hear, what everything. And those neural connections are bound to shift your emotional perception that you have in response to yourself. So basically, change your beliefs, and then you changed what your brain allows you to perceive about what is reality. All right, now, last but not least, number 7. This is the why does this always happen to me loop, is what I'm going to call it. Okay? Think about your last relationship, the way it ended. Think about how you felt at the end of that, if it wasn't the first time. Did this one sting a little bit more just for the fact that why does this always go this way? Is there something within your friendships, within your relationships, within your patterns in careers that you've tried and not maybe fully succeeded the way you thought you would? Things that you set out to do that maybe didn't come to fruition. Is there a pattern that you're noticing? Is there something that keeps coming up where you're like,
Why does it always seem to go this way? I did things differently this time. I showed up. I worked hard. I cared. I changed the way I communicate. I asserted myself more.
whatever it might be. And you're like,
But it still eventually just went down that same path. Why does this always happen to me?
right? Okay, well, it might start to feel like life just isn't fair. It might start to feel like there's no natural justice system that actually is in operation, because it seems if you're a good-hearted person, you often get taken advantage of. You often get walked all over. You often get at the short end of the stick. And then that leaves you wondering, who is benefiting really from my good heart at this point? Because certainly not me, And that's never what you were setting out to be benefiting in the first place by doing it. It's just who you are. It's just the morals that you have. But when you get knocked down and trampled so many times by people that you genuinely did not do anything wrong to, that you gave so much love to, and you had no bad intentions for, and that was very easy to see, and you just know that you didn't deserve that. But it keeps happening to you. There's no way to avoid that thought coming in where you're like,
What's the point? What's the point of being so good to people? What's the point? Because it's not helping me.
and that might sound selfish at first to you, and you're probably like, oh, I'm not a selfish person, I don't want to say that. But like, come on, it's your life. It's your life. So if forever in life you're just always giving of yourself, and then those people, clearly, they don't seem to have benefited from it because they didn't even care. They didn't even necessarily want you because they didn't keep you. They didn't see your worth. So they didn't benefit from it. And you feel like crap. You feel low as low could be. So you didn't benefit from it. So who's benefiting? It's inevitable. You might start to think it's just not worth it. That maybe it's actually harmful to you to show people that you have such a good heart, because they'll take advantage of it. And then you go down one of two paths. You become jaded, and then you start acting like the same people that hurt you, or you kind of just go into yourself and stay away from people. And I mean, neither road is fulfilling. So what do you do? I think the solution is asking that question. That question is the right question. It's just really difficult to arrive at the answer. And I'll tell you a little bit about my journey with arriving at that answer. Why does this always happen to me? Well, the really tough answer to that is because of you.
No!
And my oh my, before you just immediately turn off the video and say F her, because like that's not my answer. Let me explain. A lot of people say, like, sometimes, the issue is you. You're the problem. Like, I'm not saying you're the problem. I'm not saying that you're the problem like that. I'm not saying you deserve how people are treating you and you're the reason. No, I'm not saying it like that. And you certainly don't deserve it. What I am saying is you are the common denominator, and it is something that is happening with you that is leading you to these outcomes. And it's really unfortunate because when I first heard that, and I first started entertaining that answer, I was pissed, okay? I was devastated, and I thought that was incredibly heartbreaking because, I mean, I can't prove to anybody how kind I've been or that I'm such a great person or anything like that. But I'm saying to someone who's in a place where they've had a wounded heart and they know that they gave their best and someone just so cruelly hurt them and they don't even understand why and they're hurting from that, it's really hard to hear the answer being, well, that happened again because of how you are, because you don't believe enough in yourself, because you're not confident enough, because you're a people pleaser, and ultimately because you don't love yourself enough. That's why this keeps happening to you. And the way I first took it was, that's not fair. That's so messed up because I already have whatever circumstances happened in my life that led to me not loving myself as much as I'd really like to. I have barriers in the way, a lot of self-limiting beliefs that are deeply embedded that I work on all the time, that I've corrected a lot at this time. But back then, no. And I felt like that was just so incredibly sad, that because I already don't have enough belief in myself, which is hurtful and painful, it's a horrible life to live, that is then the very thing that leads to me being treated badly, tricked, lied to, betrayed, walked all over, taken for granted, taken advantage of, and not valued because I don't value myself. That hurt me. That was so, I felt like that was so messed up. Like, don't beat me up more, you know? I've already done it to myself enough. It just seemed like such a loop, which it is, because something made me feel that way initially. Something, relationships in my early years or my upbringing, not my parent. I'm not saying something bad about my parents, but I'm saying something about my upbringing. The dynamic of it somehow led to me being an insecure person and not believing much of myself. So then because of that, then I go out in this big wide world just trying to like love people and be nice and be sweet and be kind and genuinely have great intentions for everyone, always be willing to give. And I'm then chewed up and spit out by everyone that I put my full love into. Like, that's horrible. So then that just perpetuates the problem because then I see, well, I wasn't worth it to that person. I'm not worth it. I wasn't worth it to that person. I'm not worth it. And then it just keeps going. So as tough as it is, the actual answer is you must interrupt that loop. You must rise above that loop. You must stop considering what has happened to you to be evidence that is true, because it's not. And you have to reprogram it deeply into your subconscious. So that's what this video was really all about, is to explain that it is your subconscious that is forming your reality. You do have the power to reprogram it, and it is up to you to do so if you want a different outcome. Because you can keep going at it the way you've been, and you're probably going to keep getting the same outcome that you've been getting. And if that's the case that you're facing, where you feel like you keep treating people right, you're being a good person, you're doing all the right things, you feel like you don't hurt people, you don't have any bad intentions, but you keep getting done wrong. That's why. You have to change your deeply embedded subconscious beliefs, your thoughts, that you might not be cognizant of them. You might think,
Well, I think I deserve better. I love myself. I thought that relationship was going to go well.
well, somewhere down deep inside, you were very fearful that it wouldn't. You were worried that it was going to go a way that you're used to it going. That was a big fear inside of you, and then it did. So the only way to get rid of that is in your subconscious mind. You have to reprogram those beliefs that are operating outside of your consciousness and get rid of them. I have another video, I'll put it up here, that details exactly how to do that, because you can. There is a method, and it works. It really does work. It ties all into everything. It ties into your attachment style. It ties into subconscious beliefs, and it ties into your mental health, and it ties into your relationship success and your fulfillment in life and your personal development, all of it. The whole thing that the entire channel is about. So on that note, may you please go ahead and click that subscribe button, because we have a lot more work to do. And thank you so much for being here with me today. I love you. You're amazing. And make sure you click the bell so that you're going to be here for my next video. We're going to outro to one of my newest songs, totally separate from this channel. Go peep my other channel, where I create AI versions of the songs that I've written. The channel is completely made up of songs that I have written and then just brought them to life with AI technology and then made a video for them myself. I do the whole production. That's all me, coming all from my brain, all my vision. So check that out. And you're listening to one right now. So I hope you like it. Bye.